What's going on, everyone? It's your boy Sideswipe the Boss, back at it again with another video. And welcome to the second episode of this little Arrowverse TV show review show or whatever. And we are now on the second episode of it, and this episode will be my favorite season of Arrow, my favorite season of the Arrowverse as a whole, actually. Arrow Season 2. And before we get started, I did notice that my Arrow Season 1 review was kind of long because I went into depth about like the actors and characters and a lot of stuff. And I also forgot to do like standout episodes and some other stuff like that. But since I don't have to do that anymore, since I did in Arrow Season 1, I won't. And I'll add standout episodes. Not for this season though, because like I said, there's a lot of good episodes in this season. I would dang near do the whole season if I did standout episodes for this season. But I will start like standout episodes next season for Arrow Season 3. But without further ado, let's get into Arrow Season 2. Arrow Season 2 basically follows Oliver. He comes back from the island after like kind of banishing himself for failing to stop the undertaking last season. And now he's kind of taking on a new approach to fighting crime, other than just fighting the people on his father's list. He's now fighting all crime, and he's not killing anymore. So there's that. He finally gets his mask, so that's pretty cool to see in like the middle of the season, and he becomes the new persona of the Arrow. So the main characters list is pretty much the same as last season. You know, you got Oliver Queen, Thea Queen, Moira Queen, Roy Harper, Laurel Lance, Felicity Smoke, John Diggle, Quentin Lance, and also the two new additions to like the main characters list. We have Sarah Lance, played by Katie Lotz, and Slade Wilson, the main villain of the season, aka Deathstroke, played by Manu Bennett. Also got the side characters like Sin. She's in there. Well, she's like the main side character of the show. But yeah, once again, they all do a great job of portraying portraying their characters. It's at its, like the episode title says, it's at its peak. Arrow is at its peak in this season, and a lot of I believe that it's at its peak this season, and a lot of that is contributed into acting. So yeah, let's go over the main characters list. Oliver Queen, he's great this season. Once again, great acting by Stephen Amell. Has great chemistry with the characters. Well, most of the characters. He has a great rivalry with Slade Wilson. Oliver and Slade's rivalry is my favorite in the Arrowverse because it's done so well. But yeah, Oliver, he's great again this season. John Diggle, he's a good character this season. He doesn't really do much like he did last season. He had that little storyline with the Suicide Squad though this season. That was pretty cool. Got to see Deadshot again, and Bronze Tiger, who was introduced earlier in the season, but he returned for this episode, so that was pretty cool to see. So yeah, John Diggle was still a good character. Thea Queen, she was better this season. Like, she wasn't really as annoying as she was last season, but she still kind of had her like gripes here and there. And really, the only storyline she had until the end of the season was she didn't really have a storyline, to be honest. I mean, I know there was her like being mad at Moira at first, but then finally going to visit her. But then her just running Verdant. I mean, that's there. And then she finally gets that little storyline at the end where she finds out that Malcolm Merlyn is her actual father. So I guess that's pretty okay. But yeah, Thea's an okay character this season. Laurel Lance was a bad character this season. She wasn't written well at all. And I know they were trying to do something with the whole Laurel's drug addict storyline, but it didn't work in my opinion. It was a little over the top, and her just losing her job and all that. I mean, I see what they were trying to do, trying like to give her a little redemption arc, because if she didn't have this story, then she would basically have no point in this season. But I don't think it worked very well. So Laurel wasn't really a good character this season. On the opposite side of the spectrum, though, Moira Queen was actually a good character this season. I know I said last season her character was controversial because of all the flopping sides and all that between good and evil, but this season she was pretty good. She had her little redemption arc of like trying to get the public's change the public view of herself because she was an accomplice to the undertaking and everyone blames her and stuff like that. So yeah, that was pretty good. And then her mayoral campaign run, that was pretty good, trying to redeem herself, and she almost won before her death. Her death scene was very emotional, very well acted by all the actors in that scene. Willa Holland, who plays Thea Queen. Stephen Amell plays Oliver. Manu Bennett, who plays Slade, and Susanna Thompson, who plays Moira Queen. That scene was acted very well. It was very emotional. And yeah, Moira Queen was just a good character this season. I was sad to see her leave. So next up we have Felicity Smoke. And she kind of got annoying this season. This is like her downfall to being the character that I despise with a passion. But yeah, Felicity, she was kind of annoying this season. She had more like sparks of annoyance and defiance and stuff, and sometimes it wasn't even worth it. And especially like that episode where she was complaining because she didn't have a scar, like, and she wanted to be the hero or something like that, and it was stupid. It was weird and stupid. But yeah, she wasn't really tolerable, but she wasn't a bad character. She was just an okay character, I guess, but like lower than okay, but not a bad character, because she wasn't really bad, but she still kind of was like, ugh.
I don't even know why I'm crying. I didn't even like Moira.
God damn, you took that too far, bruh. Shit.
Next up, we have Roy Harper, and Roy Harper is a great character this season. I really love the fact that he took his hero's journey this season, you know, when he got the Mirror Crew in his system, and then him trying to control that, and finally, like, well, not finally meeting the Arrow, but like training with the Arrow and stuff like that, and finally learning that the Arrow is Oliver Queen. That was cool. And him still taking his hero's journey to finally get his mask at the end of the season and become Oliver's sidekick, Arsenal. He didn't get the name yet, but that was still pretty good. And I just really love Roy's character this season. He was a great character. Next up, we have Quentin Lance. And Quentin, he was pretty good this season. He didn't do much like he did last season, because since he got demoted from detective to just a regular officer, he didn't do a lot. I mean, he had his few storylines here or there, like the storyline where he found out that Sarah was alive, and the storyline where with the doll maker guy, that was all right. But yeah, Quentin Lance was a decent character, and the little cliffhanger at the end at the end of the season where he got hurt, that was pretty good, and that was kind of not pretty good, but that was intriguing. Yeah, it was intriguing and interesting to how that plays out in the next season. All right, next up we have Sarah Lance, a new character this season, played by Katie Lotz. She was pretty good this season. It was pretty cool that she came back from like where Nana Parbat, that's where she was at. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I'm really glad they did the recast, because if they didn't recast Sarah, I'm pretty sure that actress who was Sarah in season 1 wouldn't do well at all. So I'm really glad they recast Sarah Lance. She was a good character. She has some good fight scenes, some good emotional scenes. she had a decent relationship with Oliver. It was I can say it was better than the Oliver, Tommy, Laurel trifecta thing, whatever that was last season. But yeah, and she's the Canary, the first iteration of the Black Canary, and she was all right. She's my least favorite version of Black Canary, but that's not like downgrading Sarah or anything, because she was still a pretty good Black Canary. Her suit was all right. I like the masks of it a lot. I like her fight scenes. They were pretty cool. And yeah, Sarah Lance is a good character. And finally, we have Slade Wilson, aka Deathstroke, played by Manu Bennett. And might I say, whoa. Slade Wilson was an amazing character this season. Basically tied for Oliver as the best characters of the season. Slade Wilson was an amazing main villain. It was cunning, smart, strong. To learn that everything that happened in the season was because it was made to his design. Like, he controlled everything. He controlled all the pawns. He set everything in motion and all that. That was really cool to find out. Like I said earlier, Oliver and Slade's rivalry is one of the best rivalries in the Arrowverse. They have great on-screen chemistry. To learn, yeah. Also in the Flashbacks too, where Slade was also kind of like the main villain of the Flashbacks too. That was amazing to see. Yeah, it was pretty cool that Slade was both main villains. The bond and then the breaking of the bond between Oliver and Slade, that was pretty good. And yeah, Slade Wilson's just an amazing main villain. His costume, the Deathstroke costume, is great. I really love that costume. He has some great fight scenes, some great emotional moments, and yeah, I'm really glad that his character didn't die at the end of season 2. And that left the door open for Deathstroke to come back in seasons later on. Now to go over a few side characters this season. There was Sin. She was like one of Sarah's friends. She was okay. I mean, she was just there, to be honest. That's really all I can say about that. Sebastian Blood, aka Brother Blood. He was good this season too. I really liked that he was the secondary main villain of the season, and to find out that he was just a puppet under Deathstroke's like hand or something, like however you say that saying. But yeah, he was a pretty good secondary main villain. He was very well acted, and yeah, it was sad. I was sad to see him like die at the end of season 2, but I kind of saw it coming. I liked the skull mask. That was pretty cool. And yeah, Sebastian Blood was another good like secondary main villain of the season and a contributor to why the season was so good. I guess one more, like Malcolm Merlin. He was there. He was here again this season. He didn't do much really. The only really storyline he had was when he found out that Thea was his daughter. You know, him pestering Moira at first, and then at the end of the season where he saves Thea from the Mirakuru soldiers and then like takes her away to Corto Maltese. I think that's what the island where she's at in season 3. Yeah, but he was all right. He didn't, yeah, like I said, he didn't do much this season, but he did all right for what he was given. And before I forget, this season of Arrow introduced Barry Allen into the Arrowverse. Yeah, Barry Allen was played by Grant Gustin. He appeared in episode 8 entitled The Scientist and episode 9 entitled 3 Ghosts. And yeah, he was good this season. Like I said, he didn't do much as well since he was only in there for 2 episodes. But yeah, he was a good character. He had some decent chemistry with Felicity, some decent chemistry with Team Arrow as a whole. And yeah, it was really cool to see Barry Allen interact with Oliver Queen. And at the end of the season, well, not the end of the season, but like the end of episode 9, when Barry got struck by lightning, that was awesome like to see, because Barry Allen in the comics is the Flash, and he gets his powers because he was struck by lightning. So seeing Barry getting struck by lightning in Arrow season 2, that just confirmed the possibility of the spin-off show of the Flash, and that's exactly what happened. But I'll talk about Grant Gustin in the Flash season 1 review. But for Arrow, yeah, that I was very glad to see that they introduced the Flash almost virtually right away. And so to go over a few more points of the review, the costumes in this season, they were good. They're pretty on par with like last season. The Arrow costume was pretty much the same. I liked the Deathstroke costume. I liked Sarah's costume. Her costume was okay. And I liked Brother Blood's skull mask. That was pretty cool. And like I said, there weren't that many costumes like there were. Well, there wasn't many costumes last season either. So yeah, there weren't that many costumes this season as well. But like the main costumes, they were good. The fight scenes, once again, Arrow peaks this season, and it peaks in fight scenes. The fight scenes were amazing this season. Very well choreographed. They were awesome, especially like the final battle between Slade and Oliver, both in the present day and in the flashbacks. That comparison was awesome to see. Well, yeah, that's one of my favorite fight scenes in the Arrowverse. And yeah, just the fight scenes were on par this season. The storyline was good this season. Well, it was great this season, actually, to learn like everything that happened this season was all because of Slade's doing, and he meant for everything like to happen the way it happened, except when he got defeated at the end. But yeah, it was pretty cool. Like I said, the only hitches I have is with Laurel's storyline, not being very good, and Felicity starting to get annoying. But other than that, the season-long storyline was great. The villains of the week, there weren't that many villains of the week like there were last season. The Count appeared one more time this season, so I was happy to see him, and I was sad to see him die because I like that version of Count Vertigo. Nissa Al Ghul was introduced this season, and she was pretty good. You got the Clock King, he was okay. Huntress appeared again, she was okay. But yeah, it was mainly just Brother Blood and Slade Wilson who ran the show. Well, Slade Wilson actually ran the show, but Brother Blood was secondary main villain, so he was okay. And yeah, villains once again really helped out this season. And of course, I cannot do an Arrow review without going over the flashbacks. Once again, I keep saying this, but Arrow is at its peak this season, and it is peak flashbacks as well. The flashbacks were great this season. Anthony Ivo was a good secondary main villain of the flashbacks, and then that paved the way for Slade Wilson to become the main villain of the flashbacks. I love the chemistry between, like I said, I keep saying this, but I love the chemistry between Oliver and Slade Wilson. Their bond, how it grew as like Slade kind of got hurt, but then took the Mirakuru to get better, and their bond grew, but then it got tested after Shadow died, and how it descended Slade into a dark path, and ultimately Oliver and Slade became enemies. Yeah, it's just amazing how how the writers turned a mainly Batman villain into a Green Arrow villain and did him so well. So that was pretty cool. And yeah, it was cool when they introduced Sarah in the flashbacks. They introduced Anatoly Kanayev in the flashbacks of season 2, and that was pretty cool. I'll talk about him more in season 5 because that's more where he had a presence, a bigger presence in the season. So yeah, that was pretty cool. And yeah, like I said, flashbacks were peak Arrowness this season. In conclusion, Arrow was at its peak in season 2 with a combination of great fight scenes, great emotion, great castings, great character development, and just overall a great storyline. Arrow season 2 manages to, like I said, be at the peak and be one of my favorite Arrowverse seasons and my favorite season of Arrow as a whole. And I give it a 10 out of 10. Even Laurel storyline and Felicity's annoyingness can't ruin the greatness of this season. So that's why I gave Arrow Season 2 a 10 out of 10. Well, that's all for the Arrow Season 2 review. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know in the comments what you guys thought about the season. Was it good? Was it okay? Was it great? Was it bad? I hope you don't say it's bad. But yeah, just let me know in the comments, all that stuff. Tune in for my next episode, which will be Arrow Season 3 review. And yeah, just leave a comment, leave a like, and subscribe for more videos. Peace out, y'all. I'm just getting started.